So there's this new report that everyone is talking about because it actually confirms that PC gaming has not only been outperforming console gaming for years, but this trend is expected to continue for more years to come. And they even mentioned the Steam Deck as a key sector for this type of growth. They go into the reasons that PC gaming has been growing so fast and why console gaming has sort of lagged behind. And I think that's going to make for a really interesting discussion, especially because from my perspective, you can see Valve's direct influence in a lot of what is being presented. The report is from a venture capitalist company named Epsilon, and that could be important because it speaks to where venture capitalists and private equity firms are thinking about investing their funds. And so unsurprisingly, PC and PC handhelds are going to be a part of that. Importantly though, I don't think the picture they paint is all roses. Gaming in general has not seen the same amount of growth in the last few years that it was enjoying for over a decade prior to that. And one of the things that game publishers are looking forward to, according to this report, is GTA 6 releasing at an $80 to $100 price point with the expectation that this will conciliate otherwise price-resistant gamers and get them used to a higher price tag for video games. There's also a good amount of evidence for gamers being increasingly locked into fewer games that could be live service games that continue to sell you ongoing content or games that can otherwise be seen as platforms for user-generated content. Either way, there is a lot in this presentation that needs to be dissected and discussed, so let's jump in right after this sponsor. Folks, winter is here and the cold is creeping in, but don't worry because I've got the perfect solution to keep you warm and cozy from today's sponsor. It's the Dreo Solaris 718 Space Heater. Dreo is a top brand in the US for a reason. Their sleek and modern design, like the Solaris 718, not only heats up your space, but also adds a touch of style to your home. One of the best things about this heater is its instant heat feature. It heats up in just 2 seconds, so you can feel the warmth almost instantly. And don't worry about the noise, it is whisper quiet. Plus, with its wide oscillation, it distributes heat evenly throughout your room. Of course, safety is a top priority, and the Solaris 718 has got you covered with 8 layers of protection, including flame retardant materials, overheat protection, tip over protection, and a child lock. And let's not forget about energy efficiency. With its eco mode, you can save up to 50% on your energy bills. So if you're tired of shivering through the winter, check out the Dreo Solaris 718. It's the perfect solution for cozy and energy efficient heating. Use my link in the description and my special coupon code for an extra discount. So most of the outlets I've seen reporting on this are focusing on this slide right here, where the presentation says, quote, PC is a bright spot, adding 65% more content spend than living room console since 2011 and 225% more than combined console, or 30 billion in total. To be clear, when they say living room console, they are obviously including Xboxes and PlayStation, but they are also including the Switch in the years where the Switch is applicable. So as early as 2011, PC was already growing faster than consoles and handhelds, but it didn't actually pass those until a couple of years later. The next slide shows that PC total spend passed living room console total spend in 2013, and then passed consoles plus handhelds in 2015. When referring to total spend, they're talking about all the money that consumers are spending on video games in those respective sectors, including hardware, game purchases, content, and subscriptions, so it theoretically should be all-encompassing. When it comes to PCs outpacing consoles and handhelds, there are two sides to this equation. First, PCs have seen considerable growth, but also consoles have had much more modest growth, according to this report. Here you can see that from Gen 7 to Gen 8, that means PS3 to PS4, there wasn't much growth for consoles at all in North America, but there was more growth in other regions of the world. Worse still, PlayStation and Xbox combined for Gen 9, so this generation, have a $6.8 million shortfall when compared to Gen 8, at least for the first 49 months so far. So that paints a picture for consoles, but why has PC gaming grown so much? The report actually goes on to say that the PC ecosystem benefits from many compounding advantages over the console ecosystem, and its momentum is still growing. Now, if you enjoy PC gaming, then the reasons that they give are going to sound extremely familiar because it's the type of stuff that we've been saying for years. First, they say that PC gaming has a much larger library than any one consoles or even all consoles combined, and with near full backwards compatibility. This is hilarious because one of the things I was saying before the Steam Deck launch is that it is going to have easily the largest launch library of all time, because at least 80% of PC games will be playable, and we're talking about 80% of literally tens of thousands of video games. Next, they say that PC gaming has a much larger social graph than on any one console, and often reaching into consoles. This is of course because of PC's open nature, because when you think about a social graph, you have to take into account not only Steam, but also Roblox, Fortnite, League of Legends, and World of Warcraft, not to mention the cross-platform stuff that we've begun to see with Xbox, and of course more recently, PlayStation Network being more embedded into PC gaming. Of course, PC gaming also has the advantage of multitasking, so you can alt-tab for game guides, easily live stream, and easily use Discord and more. And here's an underrated discussion point, I think. The report says that PC gaming has a lower entry price point than consoles and higher top-range performance than high-performance consoles, and I think that point may sound a little confusing to some folks, because when it comes to pound for pound, dollar for dollar, value for performance, consoles have continued to be king, so how can PC gaming have a lower entry price point? Well, plenty of people either already have a PC or need a PC for other things. So if your kid wants to play Roblox, they can just use the household PC or the cheap laptop that you got them to work on. The barrier to entry is extremely low on PC because you don't actually need a dedicated device. So in that way, there's a lower floor and a higher ceiling when it comes to gaming. Now, they also talk about competitive viability for gaming thanks to the keyboard and mouse. Personally, I don't imagine that that's a major factor for growth, but point taken. The last bullet point here is another that I actually think is underrated, and that is early access games. This goes back to the first point of PC gaming having the largest library of games to play by far. Hades 2 is an incredibly popular game, and it's still in early access. That's not to mention the history of games like PUBG, Beaming Drive, Valheim, Rust, Lethal Company, and so many more. Early access cannot be ignored, and it makes up for an incredible player base. Now, as I said earlier, it's not simply that PC is ahead of consoles, but also that this trend is going to continue, and in fact, the advantages that PC has are compounding. One such example that they give is more game releases on PC. Indeed, PC has a larger library, which leads to more people playing on PC, which leads to developers making more games for PC, which leads to PC having an even larger library. Case in point, the second item on the list says that PlayStation now releases its exclusives on PC, albeit in a second window, as Xbox now does with all titles. Yeah, even as Sony, Microsoft, and Nintendo are doubling down on backwards compatibility of their own, it pales in comparison to what PC can offer in that regard. Next up is apparently Roblox. They point out that premium Roblox games can only be bought on PC, and hundreds of millions of children growing up on Roblox are unlikely to ask for a $500 console to play AAA games. Certainly the triumvirate of Fortnite, Minecraft, and Roblox have a lot to do with the growth of PC gaming, and perhaps even more so with the growth of mobile gaming. Minecraft and Roblox in particular are also home to an ecosystem of user-generated content, and as such are marketplaces in their own right. Finally, the last bullet point on the list of reasons that the gap between PC and consoles is only going to get wider, you guessed it, the Steam Deck. Here, it says that portable Windows-based gaming devices are growing in popularity and have access to full Steam and PC catalogs and entitlements. Later, they even go on to point out, wait a minute, is that the fan the deck icon? Am I in this report? Get out of here. Anyway, they go on to reference the recent rumors of a Steam Deck set-top box code named Fremont, saying that Valve is also set to disrupt living room consoles, bringing its $100 billion in entitlements to the TV. One factor that they don't list here but go on to talk about later is the impact of growing markets like China. On one slide, you can see how Chinese has been growing in use on Steam since 2021, even overtaking English. Likewise, they point out that concurrent users on Steam actually peak when America's asleep and China gets home. This impact is also felt in game development, with Black Myth Wukong selling incredibly well, especially in China, and receiving a ton of awards. Now, like I said at the top, it is not all roses for gaming in general. Even with the tremendous success of PC gaming, the gaming market in general has been relatively stagnant in growth for the last few years. From 2011 to 2021, the growth was absolutely tremendous even when compared to GDP. But since then, growth has barely bounced back post-pandemic, and this report says that a post-pandemic pullback is an insufficient explanation for gaming's contraction and stall because spending on books, music, and video have all continued to grow. In fact, it's not just total spend, but also players and playtime. When looking back at the growth period between 2011 and 2021, they attribute that growth to a number of factors. A bunch of brand new players and more available playtime thanks to mobile gaming, a reduced barrier to entry thanks to the growth of free-to-play games, live services and cross-platform gaming that encouraged people to play more often, and user-generated content that created the, quote, most popular experiences of all time, end quote. Conversely, the games industry took a lot of bets on what would be the next big thing in gaming, and virtually none of those panned out. I'm talking about cloud gaming, AR and VR, crypto and Web3, and esports. Finally, Epsilon presents how they think player count, playtime, and player spend might return to growth for gaming, or, in other words, what they see as the next big investment areas for gaming. They point to non-core markets like China, user-generated content platforms like Roblox, and the upcoming Switch 2. But they also point to other new handhelds and devices, and here they're referring to things like PC handhelds, the PS Portal, and any future Xbox or PlayStation handhelds, but also they seem to be referring a lot here to Steam devices, whether it be the current Steam Deck or the Legion Go S, which ships with SteamOS, or the future Steam Deck 2, or even the leaked Valve Fremont device. All of these are considered important areas of growth, seeing as Steam has PC's largest social graph, game library, and sales platform by far. One more thing to point out here is Grand Theft Auto 6. Although many publishers are trying to avoid releasing their game in a similar window to GTA 6, this report claims that some game makers hope Take-Two will price GTA 6 at $80 to $100, thereby breaking a key price barrier and enabling the rest of the market to move up too. Naturally here, they point out that the game prices have remained relatively the same, or even in their words, lowered when you take inflation into account. Really, this is a fascinating look into how private equity firms are viewing gaming right now. When I look at their factors for future growth, I see some good investments like Steam Deck, non-core markets, and Switch 2, but I see some future blunders as well, like AI and the aforementioned GTA 6 pricing. Still though, it seems like even those that hold the purse strings are waking up to PC gamers being an important audience. This presentation is certainly worth a read, but let me know what you think about all of this. I am very curious to hear everyone's thoughts on this. All right, I hope you're having a wonderful week. That gang out. Goodbye.